Hello friends, this is Santhanam once again meeting you here to discuss the test questions with regards to history. So today you wrote a test from modern Indian history. You also would have faced a little bit of polity in today's test and some current affairs questions. So you notice that we have actually deviated from the way how we used to ask questions from the earlier testing methods in comparison to today's method of testing questions, because we want to focus more on the modern Indian history, the most important part of modern Indian history, which is the national struggle. So that's why instead of asking just 65 questions from that, we have went on to ask 80 questions from this modern Indian history. So I hope that you have done the test very well, and let's now discuss the answers for these test questions one by one. Starting with the first question, obviously. Consider the following statements with regards to the real intention behind the partition of Bengal. Here the keyword is real intention. So what is the real intention? They say that it was done by the British primarily to achieve convenience in administration. That's one statement. It was meant to curb the Bengali influence in Indian nationalism. It aimed to foster communalism. What is the real intention is the question. See, Bengal province was very, very huge, and people were having large scale disparity in Bengal. One part of Bengal was very, very prosperous, and then there are parts of Bengal which is not so prosperous. So the British officials have been considering to partition Bengal for a very long period of time. When that's the case, they say, the British have said that we are partitioning Bengal for the sake of administrative reasons only, as mentioned in the first statement. But the question is asking about the real intention of Bengal partition, and they say that this is not the real intention of Bengal partition. The real intention is to curb the Bengali influence in Indian nationalism and to foster communalism in Bengal. It is not for administrative purposes. They started dividing Bengal in such a way that they are dividing the Hindu majority areas and the Muslim majority areas separately. They are putting them separately. On top of that, they are also managing to ensure that Bengalis themselves were made as a minority in Bengal when they started demarcating areas where there is a lot of people who don't speak Bengali as well as. So that's why this second statement and third statement is correct and the first statement is wrong. The answer for this question here asking which of the statements are correct. So it should be 2 and 3 only. The answer is option C. The second question. Consider the following statements. 1. British imperialistic colonialism was the chief cause of India's backwardness in economic sphere in 19th century. This is correct. The British helped in bringing about administrative and economic unification of the country. That statement is also correct. They did manage to bring everybody together under one roof. Indian intelligentsia until the beginning of 20th century believed that the British would help modernize India. That statement is wrong. Not until the beginning of 20th century, until the beginning of 19th century. See, the Indian intellectuals, they waited to allow the British to bring some amount of modernization and Western thought, and also to alleviate the evils in the Indian society by the British. But of course, the British did none of that. And by the mid 18th century, even by the beginning of the 18th century itself, the Indian reformers have started to take things in their own hands and they started trying to reform the society. By the 20th century, the freedom struggle was in full swing. So the third statement is wrong technically. Fourth, the racial arrogance and discrimination on the part of the British rulers in India led to anti-British feeling among Indians. That statement is correct. The British involved in practicing racism in India, whereby they told that we British we are from a higher race and you Indians, especially the savages, the natives, you are beneath us. And they made Indians salute them wherever they went. So such forms of racial discrimination also led to the rise of anti-British sentiments in Indians. So in this second question, statement 1, 2 and 4 are correct, 3 is wrong. The question is asking about which of the statement is correct. So the answer is option C, 1, 2 and 4. Question number 3. Which of these led to political awakening in the 1870s and 1880s? So political awakening is the keyword here, and the timeline is also given. Number 1, passing of Arms Act, that certainly led to the political awakening. Why? Because they passed this Arms Act whereby they made Indians to have arms, they allowed Indians to have arms and ammunition like guns only if they have license. So without license, Indians cannot have arms. That was the case. The same arms license was not applicable for Europeans and Anglo-Indians. Therefore, this is a part of racial discrimination, and that led to political awakening. So the first is correct. The second, passing of Vernacular Press Act, that also led to a huge extent of political awakening, because through this Vernacular Press Act, they have managed to curb all the vernacular language newspapers. Vernacular means local language newspapers. The Vernacular Press Act curbed all the Indian language based newspapers, and it exempted the English language newspapers. This was a method taken by the British to curb the spread of political ideas through the vernacular language newspapers, through those publications. So when they started curbing these vernacular language newspapers, people got pissed off, and therefore they certainly rose in rebellion against the British with regards to the enactment of the vernacular languages newspaper. So that also spread the sense of nationalism, and it brought into being political awakening in India. Point number 3, Ilbert Bill controversy, that's also an answer. Ilbert Bill controversy that happened under Lord Ripon around 1882. So Ilbert Bill controversy is where Lord Ripon was trying to introduce a bill whereby even Indian judges can administer justice to British suspects, British or European people who are in the court of law. So earlier there used to be the system where Indians can try only Indians in the court of law. A British judge can try Indians as well as the British. An Indian will always be made only to try only Indians. Now Lord Ripon is a person who was trying to be rational and who wanted to be sensitive and sympathetic towards the Indian people. So he was trying to bridge the gap between the judges, and he told, we can allow the senior Indian judges to try even Europeans, even the whites. Thereby, we can bring some parity between the senior Indian judges and the European judges. This is what he was trying to do, and this created a controversy. That's what they refer to as Ilbert Bill controversy, because the Europeans, especially the British, they did not accept that the Indians can be allowed to administer justice to Europeans. Indians cannot be allowed because they are Indians and they are not whites. So they are obviously not superior. Therefore, this led to a lot of controversy, and thereby Lord Ripon was forced to dilute the provisions of the bill, whereby a European who is facing justice, who is handed over justice by an Indian judge, has the provision to appeal, whereby in that appeals court he can have a jury where at least 50% is European, thereby bypassing the Ilbert Bill's provision. The European judge, the European person who is asking for this appeal will now be able to get justice in favor of him simply by having half the members of the jury as Europeans. Therefore, it doesn't solve the purpose at all, and Indians felt that they were slighted, that they were once again being met out with discrimination and injustice. So, this also led to the political awakening in India. So, all three of them are the answers. The answer is option D, 1, 2 and 3. Question number 4. Consider the following statements. Indian National Congress was founded by 72 political workers in 1885. That statement is correct. It's a factual statement. It was founded in 1885 by 72 political workers, 72 Indian nationalists, and it was done under the time of Dufferin, Governor General or Viceroy Dufferin. Number 2. Alan Octavian Hume, also known as A.O. Hume, was elected as the first president of the Indian National Congress. That statement is wrong. The first president was W.C. Banerjee. It is not A.O. Hume. A.O. Hume helped setting up of Indian National Congress. The safety valve theory was used by the moderates to attack the extremists. That's wrong. The third statement is wrong. It was used by the extremists to attack the moderates. So, the third statement is wrong. And the safety valve theory, what it is, we will try to understand. The safety valve theory is where the extremist section in the Indian National Congress told the moderates that the British are going to use this Indian National Congress as a safety valve against any possible rebellions from the Indian people in the future. What they will do is, they will make this INC work for the British and ensure that people will rise in rebellion only against the INC rather than go and rise against the British, as what happened with the revolt of 1857. So, this was a theory pointed out by the extremists in the Congress, and they accused the moderates of falling in line with this theory. But historians have concluded that such a theory does not really existed. The British did not really have much of an ulterior motive in forming this Indian National Congress as suspected by the extremists. So, the third statement is wrong, second is wrong, statement 1 is correct. The question is asking about which of the above statements are correct. So, the answer is option A, 1 only. Question number 5. With reference to individual satyagraha of 1940, which of the following statements are correct? It was launched in response to the Cripps mission. No, this statement is wrong. It was launched in response to the failure of August offer plus the draconian laws enacted by Governor General or Viceroy Linlithgow. Yes, Linlithgow. The second statement, the propaganda was directed against participation in the war. That is correct. In the individual satyagraha, they spoke against the forced Indian participation in the Second World War. So, they certainly talked against it. Jawaharlal Nehru was arrested as he offered individual satyagraha. That statement is also correct. Because it is about individuals talking against war, talking against the government policies with regards to war. So, this is what this individual satyagraha is about. And the first person to get arrested is Acharya Vinoba Bhave. The second person is Jawaharlal Nehru. So, there are so many people who got arrested with regards to individual satyagraha, but here the statement says Jawaharlal Nehru was arrested, which is correct. So, for this question, the first statement is wrong, 2 and 3 are correct. The answer is option B, 2 and 3 only. Question number 6. Congress faced criticism from its more radical members for their politics of prayers during 1890s. That's correct. Its more radical members meaning extremists. The politics of prayer was done by moderates. So, the moderates were simply doing prayer, petition and protest against the British in in all constitutional ways of approach. They were practicing this with the British, and this was not accepted by the extremists in Congress. So, the Congress certainly faced criticisms from the extremists. That statement is correct. These more radical members, meaning the extremists, emphasize the importance of self-reliance and constructive work. Absolutely correct. They wanted the Indians to be self-reliant. They wanted Indians to take up constructive work by themselves. So, in question number 6, both the statements are correct. The answer is option C, both 1 and 2. Question number 7. With reference to the Cripps mission, which of the following statements are correct? Once again, we are talking about Cripps mission. It provided for a constitution making body which includes representatives from British India and the princely states. That statement is correct. The demand for Pakistan was implicitly accommodated in the proposal. That statement is also correct. Cripps mission directly did not say that there will be a Pakistan. It said that those who do not want to join the federation can remain aloof, and they can later on go and talk. They can later on go and assemble themselves together to form a separate union, thereby paving way for the creation of a new country, in this case Pakistan. So both the statements are certainly correct. The answer is option C, both 1 and 2. Question number 8. Consider the following personalities: Dadabhai Nauroji, Romesh Chandra Dutt, R.C. Dutt, and G.K. Gokhale, Gopalakrishna Gokhale. Which among the above personalities were involved in the economic critique of British colonial rule? It's a very good question. The answer is all three of them were involved in the economic critique. Dadabhai Nauroji, Romesh Chandra Dutt, they both wrote books with regards to criticizing the British policy, saying that they are the ones who caused the drain of wealth from India to Britain. And Gopalakrishna Gokhale, he has criticized the British economic policies in multiple forums along with the other two counterparts mentioned here. And there were other people also like Subramania Iyer and others who also criticized the British economic policy. So for the 8th question, those who involved in the economic critique, all three are the answer. The answer is option D, 1, 2 and 3. Moving on to the next question. Question number 9. Balagangadhar Tilak was popularly known as Lokahitavadi. That's wrong. It is Gopala Hari Deshmukh. He is called as Lokahitavadi. Balagangadhar Tilak is sometimes called as Lokmanya Tilak. 2. Gopal Ganesh Agarkar, G.G. Agarkar, along with Tilak, founded the newspapers Kesari and Maharatha. That statement is correct. They both together founded Kesari and Maharatha. G.G. Agarkar glorified the past and traditions in his periodical Shudrak. Well, this is wrong because it is wrong because Gopal Ganesh Agarkar never glorified the past and traditions in his periodical Shudrak, because he told that you cannot really consider the past as a monolith, and he said that you cannot say that whatever that happened in the past, all of it is good. I do not accept that the past is all glorious, and I do not accept that the Vedas, the scriptures are completely infallible. That's something that I will not accept. This is what Gopal Ganesh Agarkar told. So the first statement is wrong, the second statement is correct, the third statement is wrong. Now the question is asking which of the statements are not correct, meaning 1 and 3 is the answer. It is option C. Question number 10. Consider the following statements about Gopalakrishna Gokhale. Gopalakrishna Gokhale was a moderate who utilized the Legislative Council for imparting political education to the people. That statement is correct because Gopalakrishna Gokhale is a fiery orator. He talks very well and he wanted the Indians to learn politics first before trying to organize all of them into some mass movements. So he tried to speak in a very elaborate fashion in the legislative councils, and these speeches were published on the newspapers through which the people attained a lot of political knowledge. He founded the Servants of India Society in 1905, that is correct. To criticize the legislations being passed through the council, that is not correct. See, he founded the Servants of India Society and he ensured that the Servants of India Society is completely out of politics. It is about people who are ready to serve for the sake of the country, that's all. He did not indulge in any political discussions when it came to Servants of India Society. So the second statement is wrong, the first statement is correct. The answer is, the question is asking which of the above statement is correct. So option A, 1 only. Question number 11. Consider the following pairs. So here we have newspapers on one side and the editors on the other side. Kesari, Balagangadhar Tilak, which we just saw. Amrita Bazaar is Amrita Bazaar Patrika. That's the name. Here it is there is some unwanted space here. Amrita Bazaar Patrika. Motilal Ghosh. That's correct. Bengali, not Gopalakrishna Gokhale. It is Surendranath Banerjee. It is not Gopalakrishna Gokhale. So which of the above pairs are correctly matched? The answer is 1 and 2 only, option B. With reference to RIN, Royal Indian Navy mutiny, which of the following statements are correct? It took place in February 1946, that's correct. February 18th is when it started. By February 20th, it reached many other places, and by 22nd, almost the entire Royal Indian Navy was under mutiny. The movement was restricted to the armed forces only, that is wrong, because even the people participated. Upon hearing that, the ratings, the so-called ratings, which is a position in the Navy, these ratings are protesting against their British commanders. The people also joined. Third, it paralyzed the cities of Bombay and Calcutta. That is correct. Bombay and Calcutta were completely paralyzed because of the protests happening in the Navy as well as happening in the streets, because the civilians also joined the protest. So here the question is asking which of the statements are correct. So the answer is 1 and 3, option B. Question number 13. The Deccan Agricultural Relief Act was passed in 1879, correct, on the recommendations of an inquiry committee looking into the causes of Deccan riots. That's correct. First statement is correct. It was extended to other provinces in 1881. That's also correct. They wanted to find the root cause for the Deccan riots, which was caused because of the exploitation by moneylenders, and therefore they tried to identify the root cause and they tried to give proper relief for those who are affected by the actions of the moneylenders, and that's why they passed this act to give them relief. Both the statements are correct. The answer is option C, both 1 and 2. Question number 14. With reference to the Quit India resolution, which of the following statements are correct? The resolution contained Gandhi's slogan, do or die. Correct. Sorry. It is correct. It was launched in August of 1942. That's also correct. So here the answer is option C, both 1 and 2. It is a factual question, so nothing really much to discuss here. Question number 15. With reference to the national movement during the 1940s, arrange the following events in chronological order. So here we have chronological order question. So they are talking about Cripps mission, individual satyagraha, Quit India resolution, INA formation, not INA trial, INA formation. So let's try to understand how things progressed. The individual satyagraha, it was a result of August offer. I'll write it here. Individual satyagraha came as a result of August offer, and after individual satyagraha came Cripps mission. And when Cripps mission failed, it led to Quit India movement. And alongside Quit India movement, there happened the formation of INA. So, individual satyagraha has to come before Cripps mission. So, A cannot be the answer because here it comes after Cripps mission. B cannot be the answer. Individual satyagraha now comes before Cripps mission. So, C can be the answer, and here also it is coming before Cripps mission. So, D can also be the answer. But I told that Quit India movement was a result of the failure of Cripps mission. So, it cannot come before Cripps mission. So, the answer is option C. Question number 16. With reference to the cabinet mission, which of the following statements are correct? It provided for the partition of India. It provided for the provinces to form regional unions. The provinces were grouped on the basis of Hindu-Muslim majority. Well, see, cabinet mission did not provide for the partition of India. Mountbatten plan provided for the partition of India explicitly. So, statement 1 cannot be correct. It provided for the provinces to form regional unions, that is correct. Though it did not say that India will be divided into India and Pakistan, it says that there can be regional unifications and have multiple central governments having different dominions in one subcontinent, one Indian subcontinent. So, that it certainly allowed. And 3, the provinces were grouped on the basis of Hindu or Muslim majority, that's correct. They divided all of Indian provinces into 3 groups. One is Hindu majority, the other 2 are 2 different Muslim majority groups. So, they clubbed based on communal lines, and therefore the cabinet mission is certainly, the third statement is certainly correct with regards to cabinet mission is certainly correct. So, here they are asking which are correct statements. So, the answer is 2 and 3, option B. Question number 17. The need of self-government was realized in the beginning of 20th century because now need of self-government. Earlier we had one such question where we were talking about political awakening. Here the need of self-government was realized in the beginning of 20th century because of the passing of the Official Secrets Acts, that's correct, that is absolutely correct. Passing of Indian Universities Acts, that's also correct. Thereby they were able to curb the influence of educational institutions in spreading of nationalism. They were able to bring many institutions under control. Sedition Act, obviously, whoever spoke against the government, they were all brought under the Sedition Act's purview and they were arrested. Indian Councils Act of 1892, that's also correct because no matter how hard the Indians asked, the British kept passing laws saying that they are going to give concessions to Indians. However, they never gave any satisfactory concessions that the Indians demanded. So, all 4 statements are correct. The answer is all the above. Option D. Question number 18. Which of the following nationalist leaders did not believe in the role of masses as an effective tool for self-respect and self-effort in the late 19th century? Swami Vivekananda cannot be the answer because he wanted people to gather, masses to gather. Aurobindo Ghosh is not the answer because he asked people to turn into extreme, he didn't ask, he was inspiring many people to turn extreme. Bal Gangadhar Tilak is an extremist by himself, and all extremists always believed in the role of masses. Gopalakrishna Gokhale is the answer. He was a moderate who thought that as of now we need not ask the people to come and participate in the national movement because they are not ready. It is going to take some time for the people to accept that they have to participate and they are themselves as stakeholder in the sense of nationalism, in taking part in the national movement. So, he told that people are not needed as of now to take part in the national movement, especially in terms of self-respect and self-effort? So the answer for the 18th question is option D, Gopalakrishna Gokhale. Question number 19. Arrange the following in chronological order: partition of Bengal, formation of Muslim League, proclamation of Swadeshi movement, and setting up of National Council of Education. All of them are closely packed. But you should see, of these four, the first event to happen is the proclamation of Swadeshi movement. But we know that the Swadeshi movement was declared only after the partition of Bengal. You see, partition of Bengal was announced before, and as soon as it was announced, the Swadeshi movement was proclaimed. And only after the Swadeshi movement started, the actual partition really happened. So this is the first, this is the second event. And then what happened? They started setting up this National Council of Education. Thereby they wanted the Indians to get educated, to have awareness, to get rid of ignorance. That becomes the third event in this chronology. And here comes the formation of Muslim League as the fourth. So the answer is 3, 1, 4, 2, which is option A. Which of the following leaders spearheaded the Swadeshi movement in Madras province? Chidambaram Pillai, option A, hands down, he is the answer. VOC, Vavu Chidambaram Pillai, also known as Kappalotiya Tamilan, because he had managed to have ships for himself and to use that ship to trade with other nations, to other parts of India and outside of India, for which he was later arrested and he was punished severely. So Chidambaram Pillai is the answer for the 20th question. The answer is option A. Question number 21. Consider the following statements. The women, especially from the rural areas, participated in large numbers for the first time in Swadeshi movement. That statement is correct. Sorry. That statement is correct. Students were actively engaged in Swadeshi movement and boycott movement. That statement is also correct. It is self-explanatory. Students were taking part. Aurobindo Ghosh was the principal of the National College of Bengal, which focused on literacy, technical and physical educations as well. The third statement is also correct. So for the 21st questions, all three statements are correct. The answer is option D, 1, 2 and 3. 22. Political freedom is the life breath of a nation. So who told this statement? It is a statement based question. The answer is very, very straightforward. It is a factual question. The answer is actually Aurobindo Ghosh. He was the one who told that political freedom is the life breath of a nation. Swaraj is my birthright. That was told by Balagangadhara Tilak. So there are different sayings by different national leaders. Please get to know who said what at least a little bit. At least through such test papers, you learn these information. Then the next question is a match of following. Here we are supposed to match C, which are correctly matched. Anushilan Samiti and V.D. Savarkar, that's wrong. Anushilan Samiti and Barindra Kumar Ghosh, that's correct. So 1 is not correctly matched. Abhinav Bharat is actually with regards to V.D. Savarkar. So 2 should come with V.D. Savarkar. Ghadar Party, Lala Hardayal, this is correctly matched. Indian Independence League and Rash Bihari Bose, that's correctly matched. These are all actually different extremist organizations and the different extremist leaders. These extremist leaders took up arms or made people take up arms against the British. Barindra Kumar Ghosh is actually the brother of Aurobindo Ghosh. Aurobindo Ghosh is also an extremist leader. So here they are asking which are correctly matched. The answer is option D, 3 and 4 only. 24. Consider the following statements regarding Indian Councils Act of 1909, also known as Minto-Morley reforms. Separate electorates were given for the first time for Muslims, Sikhs and Anglo-Indians. That statement is wrong. Separate electorate was given only in 1919 during the Montego-Chelmsford reforms. elected members in the Imperial Legislative Council were increased. That statement is correct. It was increased from 16 to 60. The number of elected members in the Imperial Legislative Council, also known as the Central Legislative Council. It laid down the basis for parliamentary system. That's also correct, because people were allowed to ask questions, meaning some form of responsible government is getting formed. So, in the 24th question, first statement is wrong, 2 and 3 are correct. The answer is option B, 2 and 3 only. 25. Arrange the following in chronological order. Once again, we have chronology. Annulment of partition, Delhi conspiracy case, Minto-Morley reforms, arrest of Balagangadhar Tilak. So, here we have to arrange it chronologically, and I will say the first event happened is the arrest of Balagangadhar Tilak. That's what happened. It happened around 1907, I think. So, Balagangadhar Tilak is arrested in 1907. Then the next is Minto-Morley reforms in 1909. We know that Minto-Morley reforms were passed in 1909. Then annulment of partition of Bengal in 1911, 1912, that time. And of course, Delhi conspiracy case, late end of 1912 and later on. So, first is 4, then it is 3, then it is 1, then it is 2. 4, 3, 1, 2, which is option A. That's the answer. Consider the following pairs. Demand for self-rule, Dadabhai Nauroji. Surat split, A.Z. Mazumdar. Okay, so here we have a list of Congress resolutions or Congress-based events and the leaders who were presiding over that Congress session. I asked you guys to actually identify all the themes in Indian history, especially the different Congress sessions and the leaders who were presiding over those Congress sessions, and what were all the resolutions which was passed during those Congress sessions. And if you had done that, this question would have been very, very easy. The demand for self-rule was passed when Dadabhai Nauroji was the presiding officer of INC. And Surat split happened not under A.Z. Mazumdar but under Rash Bihari Ghosh. So, second is wrong. Lucknow Pact and Gopalakrishna Gokhale is saying that's also wrong, because Lucknow Pact was signed in 1916. Gopalakrishna Gokhale died in 1915. So, it cannot be the answer. Fourth, Congress support to Khilafat movement. Well, it was done under Motilal Nehru's when Motilal Nehru was the presiding officer. It says movement here after Motilal Nehru. There is no such thing called as Motilal Nehru movement. It is Khilafat movement only. So, option 4 is correct. Option 1 is correct. The answer is option B, 1 and 4 only. 27. With reference to Subhash Chandra Bose, which of the following statements is or are correct? He formed the Indian National Army in 1943. That statement is wrong. He did not form it. The INA was already formed. He came and took leadership role for INA. He set up the Provisional Government of Free India in October 1943. That statement is correct. He set up this provisional government in Singapore. The provisional government was set up by him, was not recognized by global powers. That's wrong. It was not recognized by the allies of Britain, but all others who were opposed to Britain during the World War, they all recognized it. Italy recognized, Germany recognized, Ireland recognized, China recognized, Japan recognized. So, there were many countries which certainly recognized the setting up of Subhash Chandra Bose government as the actual Indian government. So, thereby, third statement is wrong, second is correct and first is wrong. The question is asking which are correct. The answer is option B, 2 only. Question number 28. The Montego Declaration specified the concept of responsible government for India for the first time. That's correct. See, responsible government is where you will have the cabinet responsible to the legislature. That's why it is called as responsible government. And the Montego Declaration certainly paved way for the creation of such responsible government. It, however, declared the demand for self-rule to be seditious in nature. Oh no, that statement is wrong, because in fact it told the opposite. It told that if you are asking for self-rule, that is no longer sedition, meaning that is no longer treason. We will not charge you from now on. We will not arrest you for asking for self-rule. So, second statement is wrong. First statement is correct. The answer is option A, one only. Question number 29. Consider the following statements regarding the personality in focus. He helped establish Dayanand Anglo-Vedic School. Okay. He presided over the Congress session which accepted the NCM, non-cooperation movement. He wrote the book England's Debt to India, a historical narrative of British fiscal policy in India in 1917. Well, we certainly know who that is. That is Lala Lajpat Rai. Lala Lajpat Rai was the one who was the presiding officer during the declaration of non-cooperation movement in Congress. So, all these three statements are talking about Lala Lajpat Rai. Answer is option A. Question number 30. The Lucknow session of INC was presided over by Gopal Krishna Gokhale in 1916. That statement cannot be correct because GKG died in 1915. Annulment of partition of Bengal in 1911 has been a contributing factor for the Muslim League to move towards the Lucknow Pact. That's actually correct. When partition of Bengal was annulled, meaning it was reversed, where Bengal is now no longer partitioned, once again the Muslim dominated Muslim League, or the Muslim representative as they call themselves, the Muslim League, it understood that it needs to bring into picture the Congress also in order to get its demand from the British accepted, in order to receive the concessions from the British. Therefore, they were pushed into drafting such a pact called as Lucknow Pact. It was a major landmark in the evolution of the two-nation theory. That's also correct, because Lucknow Pact asked for a separate nation, more privileges for the Muslims, and therefore this inadvertently caused the planting of the seed for partition. That can be said. So, in this statement, statement 1 is wrong, 2 and 3 are correct. The answer is option B, 2 and 3 only. Question number 31. The salient features of the Montford reforms. They say Montford, it is Montego Kempsford reform. Diarchy at the center. No, that's wrong. Diarchy at the provinces, not center. Bicameral arrangement at the center. That's correct, where there will be two houses. Women were given the right to vote. That's also correct. Women were also given the right to vote. Some women were allowed to vote. So, in this statement, in this question, statement 2 and 3 are correct, 1 is wrong. The answer is option B, 2 and 3 only. Question number 32. What do you understand by the term diarchy? Rule of two, the role of executive councillors and popular ministers. That's the answer. Dual government is not the answer. Rule of governor in the provinces and rule of governor general in the center, absolutely not. None of the above, that's not the answer. The answer is rule of two, where there will be an executive who will have some portfolios, who is not responsible to the people or the legislature, and there are certain ministers who will have other portfolios, and these ministers are responsible to the people and to the legislature. So, this is diarchy, and this is what it means, and answer is option A. Question number 33. Consider the following statements. The Rowlatt Act authorized the government to imprison any person without trial and conviction in the court of law. No, that's not correct. It authorized the government to arrest people involved in certain political cases, certain political issues. Only those people can be arrested. The Ilbert Bill sought to allow the senior Indian magistrates to preside over cases involving British subjects in India. That statement is correct. However, you should know that the bill allowed the senior Indians to actually have some say in the cases involving British subjects in India. But however, as I mentioned earlier, this Albert bill caused a lot of controversy and therefore it was later on diluted. But anyways, for the sake of this question, you can say that the second statement is correct, the first statement is wrong. The question is asking which of the above statement is incorrect, is or are incorrect. Incorrect option is statement 1 only, which is option A, 1 only is the answer. Question number 34. Satyagraha Sabha was founded by Gandhi is associated with what? It is a straightforward question. It is associated with Rowlatt Act. It is associated with Rowlatt Satyagraha. They wanted to organize people together and have a national Satyagraha movement where people will protest in different means across the nation. That's what it means. That's what the purpose of this Satyagraha Sabha. Question number 35. Which of the following statements are correct regarding the Jallianwala Bagh massacre? It occurred on the April 13th of 1919. That's correct. Rabindranath Tagore renounced his knighthood in protest. That's correct. It was a consequence of the protests held against the Rowlatt Act. That's also correct. So the answer is all the above, 35. All the statements are correct. So answer is option D. 36. Hunter Commission was related to what? Hunter Commission was related to Jallianwala Bagh massacre, an inquiry into Jallianwala Bagh massacre. So here the answer is very straightforward. It is option A, Punjab atrocities. Why Punjab atrocities? Jallianwala Bagh massacre happened in Punjab near Amritsar. So the answer is option A. 37. With reference to the Public Safety Bill of 1928, which of the following statements is or are correct? The bill was formulated against a few foreigners in India. That is correct. It was formulated against those foreigners in India who are trying to spread the idea of communism in India. Its aim was to stifle the spread of the idea of Satyagraha. Though that's not correct. As I told, it is to spread communism. These people are there to spread communism, and the British did not want communism to be spread in India. So that's why they introduced this Public Safety Bill. And for this question, the answer is option A, 1 only. Question number 38. With reference to the sessions of INC, which of the following statements are correct? Purna Swaraj was declared as the goal of the national movement in the Lahore session of Congress. Purna Swaraj was declared as the goal of the national movement in the Lahore session of the Congress. So now we know for a fact that the Purna Swaraj was in fact declared in the Lahore session. That much we know. So the first statement may be correct. Second, in 1929, a resolution was passed for the first time declaring complete independence as the goal. 1929, that's when this Lahore session happened. So in Lahore session, they say that this Purna Swaraj was declared. But the question is, was it the first time that this declaration happened? And they say that is not the first time, because already in 1927, in the Madras session, presided over by Jawaharlal Nehru, Purna Swaraj declaration, not in the sense of Purna Swaraj, but the very first idea that complete independence should be the ultimate goal of Congress, that resolution was already passed back 2 years earlier itself. So the first statement is correct, the second statement is wrong. The answer is option A, 1 only. Question number 39. Which of the following statements is or are correct? The Kanpur conspiracy trial and the Meerut conspiracy trial were against communist leader. They were both correct. Both of them were against communist leaders who were trying to incite activities against the government officials, against the government property. Gandhi supported the government when it arrested the conspirators of Meerut and Kanpur conspiracy cases. That's actually wrong, because Gandhi in fact went to the jail to meet these people and he extended his support to their cause, though he did not accept that violence was the means to do that. So, statement 2 is wrong, statement 1 is correct. The answer is option A, 1 only. Question number 40. With reference to the Kakori conspiracy case, which of the following statements are correct? Kakori conspiracy case, which happened in 1925. It is attributed to the HSRA, Hindustan Socialist Republican Association. That statement is wrong. It is attributed to HRA, not HSRA, Hindustan Republican Association. HSRA was formed later on. It was actually HRA which transformed into HSRA later. But during the time of Kakori robbery case, it was HRA, not HSRA. Number 2. HSRA was formed by Chandrasekhar Azad. That statement is correct. Chandrasekhar Azad was one of the key proponents of the formation of HSRA. Bhagat Singh is a member of HSRA. So, second statement is correct. First statement is wrong. The answer here is option B, 2 only. Question number 41. With reference to Lala Lajpat Rai, which of the following statements are correct? He died in the Jallianwala Bagh massacre. That's wrong. He died when he was protesting against the Simon Commission, when the police brutally attacked him with lathi charge. That brutal lathi charge caused a lot of injuries for Lala Lajpat Rai, and because of those injuries, he died. He didn't die because of Jallianwala Bagh massacre. Bhagat Singh and B.K. Dutt threw a bomb in the Central Legislative Assembly to avenge his death. Well, Bhagat Singh certainly tried to avenge his death, that's correct. But it was not by throwing bomb in the Central Legislative Assembly. They killed Colonel Saunders, who ordered the lathi charge on Lala Lajpat Rai. So, Bhagat Singh and B.K. Dutt certainly threw a bomb in the Central Legislative Assembly, but that is to protest these public safety bill and trade disputes bill, not for Lala Lajpat Rai's deaths. So, the second statement is also wrong. So, the answer for this question is option D, neither 1 nor 2. 42. With reference to Surya Sen, which of the following statements is or are correct? Surya Sen, who was an extremist revolutionary terrorist. He was the head of the Chittagong group that was hanged for his activities. That's correct. There is something called as Chittagong Armory raid conducted by Surya Sen and many of his followers. And these people raided Chittagong Armory. They took control of the Chittagong Armory and they even declared a provisional revolutionary government from Chittagong in Bengal. So, the first statement is correct. Second statement, he was a member of the Indian National Congress. That's also correct. In fact, Surya Sen was one who took part in the non-cooperation movement and he wanted to participate in satyagraha, in non-violence, and when Gandhi withdrew non-cooperation movement in a very rude fashion, many people were disillusioned and they once again returned back to their revolutionary terrorist violent activities. Surya Sen was one such example. So, both the statements here are correct. The answer is option C, both 1 and 2. Question number 43. With reference to Bhagat Singh, which of the following statements is or are correct? He founded the Punjab Naujan Bharat Sabha. That's correct. He was one of the founder. He wrote the book The Philosophy of the Bomb. No, that's not correct. Philosophy of the Bomb was written by Chandrasekhar Azad and others, not Bhagat Singh. The answer for this question is of course option A, 1 only for question number 43. Question number 44. With reference to the British government, which of the following statements are correct? The Conservative government called on the Indian leaders to attend the round table conference. That's wrong. It is the Labour government who called on the Indians to attend the round table conferences. The Labour government appointed the Indian Statutory Commission to look into the workings of the legislation of 1919. That's also wrong, because it was the Conservative government which appointed the Indian Statutory Commission, also known as Simon Commission. So both the statements are wrong here. The answer is option D, neither 1 nor 2. Question number 45. Match the following with the cities in which the Congress session were held. So it is quite easy to do if you have already read all the cities and the years and the presiding officers and the resolutions passed. So in 1927 it was in Madras. It is very, very straightforward. One will be with C. And here there are two options where one will be with C. Option B and option C cannot be options because one is with some other options. Then next is 2, 1928. 1928 we know that it is in Calcutta. 2 is with A. So here 2 is with A, here 2 is with B. So D is not the answer, option A is the answer. So even just by knowing 2 of the options, we know that this answer for the 45th question is option A. And of course this also means that 1929 is with regards to Lahore and 1931 is with regards to Karachi. In 27, for the first time they passed a resolution saying that independence should be the goal. At least that's what they tried to do in 1927, but it was vehemently opposed. In 28 in Calcutta, they were talking and discussing about the Nehru report, and they were trying to understand, they were trying to give certain deadline for the Viceroy Irwin to answer his reply with regards to whether he will consider Nehru report as the Constitution of India or not. Then 1928 in Lahore session, they declared Purna Swaraj, and in 1931 in Karachi session, we know that Vallabhbhai Patel was the presiding officer. So the answer is option A for question number 45. Question number 46. With reference to the Nehru report, which of the following statements are correct? It was a response to the Simon Commission challenge. That is correct, we know. The Secretary of the State, Lord Birkenhead, he challenged the Indians to draft a constitution for themselves that every Indian is agreeing to. When the Indians asked why we are not allowed into the Simon Commission. So it was in fact a response to the Simon Commission, and they took up the challenge and they created this Nehru report. Number 2, it was passed in the all-party convention in 1928. That is wrong. It was not passed due to multiple reasons. There were oppositions from the Muslim sections of the Indian society. There were oppositions from within the Congress also, where many people did not want dominion status to be the ultimate goal for the British in India. They wanted complete independence. So it was not passed in the All India All-Party Convention in 1928. The answer for this question is option A, 1 only. 47. With reference to the Nehru report, which of the following statements are correct? It provided for reservation of seats for Muslims in all provinces under joint electorate. That's wrong. Not all provinces. Only in provinces where Muslims are in a minority, and that too under a joint electorate system. So first statement is wrong. The report confined itself to British India. That's correct. They did not talk about how the administration will happen in the princely states. So for the 47th question, first statement is wrong, second is correct. The answer is option B, 2 only. 48. With respect to Indian Statutory Commission, which of the following statements is or are correct? Indian Statutory Commission, also known as Simon Commission. The Simon Commission had its basis in the Government of India Act of 1919, obviously, that is correct. In the Government of India Act of 1919, they have told that in a span of 10 years, we will constitute a commission which will study the workings of the Government of India Act of 1919 Act, whether it is having proper reforms, how it is performing, and it is supposed to give recommendations to refine this Government of India Act of 1919, thereby introducing the next Government of India of 1935 Act. That was the reason. Indian leaders protested against it as they demanded Purna Swaraj. No, that's not the reason. They demanded against it because Indian leaders wanted to take part in the Simon Commission, not because of Purna Swaraj. So the second statement is wrong. The first statement is correct. And the Indian leaders protested because no Indians were present in the Simon Commission. The members of the Simon Commission, headed by Sir John Simon, none of them, the members, were Indians. And it is supposed to decide the fate of Indian people. So when Indians are not present in the commission which is going to decide the fate of Indian people, that is not acceptable for the Indians. That's why they went and protested. So first statement is correct, second is wrong. The answer is option A, one only. 49. With reference to the civil disobedience movement, which of the following statements is or are correct? Rajagopalachari, also known as Rajaji, and Kelappan led the Satyagraha movements down south. That's correct. Kelappan held a march in the Malabar coast. Rajagopalachari, he held a march from Tiruchirappalli to Vedaranyam, another salt march. So that's correct. The movement was basically just a no tax movement. That is wrong. It was not a no tax movement. It was actually against all unpopular laws by the British. In some places it was no tax, in some places it was no rent, in some places it was no Chaukidara tax, and in some places they broke forest laws. Wherever there were unpopular laws, those laws were broken. So the second statement is wrong. The answer for this is option A, one only. Question number 50. With reference to the civil disobedience movement, which of the following statements are correct? Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan led the movement in Gujarat. No, he led the movement in Northwest Frontier Province. As the president of INC, Nehru was arrested and Sarojini Naidu became the first woman president of Congress. Well, as the president of INC, Nehru was certainly arrested. That's correct. And Sarojini Naidu certainly became the president of Congress. That's correct. But she was not the first woman president of Congress. The first woman president of Congress was Annie Besant, not Sarojini Naidu. The first Indian woman to become the president is Sarojini Naidu. So the second statement is wrong. The first statement is also wrong. The answer here is option D, neither 1 nor 2. 51. With reference to Gandhi-Irwin Pact, which of the following statements is or are correct? The pact aimed at the suspension of the civil disobedience movement. That is correct. Irwin pleaded with Gandhi and he told that he is ready to give concessions. Irwin is the viceroy. He told that he will give concessions as demanded by Gandhi so that Gandhi will suspend the civil disobedience movement. So that was in fact a provision. The release of prisoner was not agreed upon. It accepted remission of fines and return of confiscated lands. See, here is where the problem is. It certainly accepted the remission of fines and return of confiscated lands. However, the release of prisoner, here it says it was not agreed upon. No, that's wrong. It was agreed upon. Those who will be released and those who will not be released, they were categorized and they were agreed upon by Gandhi as well as Irwin. And it is in this pact that people will pressure Gandhi to include Bhagat Singh in those list where he will be pardoned from death sentence. But Gandhi refuses for his own reasons. So for the 51st question, statement 1 and 3 are correct, 2 is wrong. The answer is option C, 1 and 3 only. Question number 52. With reference to RTCs, roundtable conferences, which of the following statements are correct? Congress participated only in one of the 3 roundtable conferences. That is correct. Only in the second roundtable conference. The civil disobedience movement was withdrawn in 1931. No, that's wrong. It was withdrawn in 1934. It was tentatively withheld in 1931 to take part in the second roundtable conference. So please understand the difference. So the second statement is wrong. The first statement is correct. The answer is option A, 1 only. 53. With respect to the incidents in the civil disobedience movement, which of the following is in the proper chronological order? Now once again we have chronological order. So here they are talking about Dandi March, first roundtable conference, Gandhi-Irwin Pact, Karachi session of Congress, and second roundtable conference. So we will try to categorize how things happened. First is the civil disobedience movement, which started with the Dandi March. And after Dandi March, what happened? People were arrested across India. And since they were arrested, the first roundtable conference happened without INC. INC did not take part. And the INC did not take part in the first roundtable conference. Therefore, the British Prime Minister wanted the INC to take part in the second roundtable conference because they are the majority party in India, and therefore he asks the Viceroy to sign the Gandhi-Irwin Pact. And after the Gandhi-Irwin Pact was signed, the second roundtable conference was happening. Now, before the second roundtable conference happened, the Gandhi-Irwin Pact was ratified by the Congress in the Karachi session. After Karachi session ratification, the second roundtable conference happened. So, if you have this schema in your head, that alone is good enough to find the answer to this question. So, Dandi March should come in the first. So, option D cannot be the answer. Then, first roundtable conference has to come second. So, option B cannot be in the answer. It is either option C or option A. Then, Gandhi-Irwin Pact should come next. So, here also it can be option C or option A. Then, Karachi session should come. So, it is option A, and it cannot be option C because option C puts Karachi session in the last. So, option C is not the answer. D and B already were eliminated. Option A is the answer. So, you have Irwin Pact, which was ratified in the Karachi session, and then Congress takes part in the second roundtable conference. That's all. So, for the 53rd question, the answer is option A. 54. With reference to the Government of India Act of 1935, which of the following statements are correct? It provided for a federation of provinces of British India and the Princely States. That's correct. It's a fact. They provided for an all India federation. The representatives from the Princely States ought to be partly elected and partly nominated. That's wrong. They will be completely nominated. They will not be elected at all. So, in this question, first statement is correct, second is wrong. The answer is option A, one only. 55. With reference to GOA 1935, once again, which of the following statements are correct? It provided for diarchy in the provinces. That's wrong. It provided for diarchy in the center, not in the provinces. In fact, it abolished the diarchy in the provinces. Number 2. The provincial governor could veto any measure taken up by the legislature. That's correct. The British never really gave up power, even though they told that you are going to have all the decision making power and we will not interfere. They time and again came back to interfere in the decision making process, and therefore they caused a lot of headaches for the Indians, and the Indians did not like this attitude of the British. So, the first statement is wrong, the second statement is correct. The answer is option B, 2 only. 56. With reference to 1934 elections, which of the following statements are correct? Gandhi resigned from INC in 1934, paving way for those who wanted to participate in the election. That is factually correct. That is correct. Gandhi told that he will not participate in elections, but he wanted those who want to participate in elections to go and participate and contest in elections. And he said, I will no longer be a part of Congress. You please continue and let Congress take part in elections. Congress boycotted the 1934 elections. That's wrong. If the first statement is correct, the second statement is obviously wrong. It is conflicting. So, Congress certainly participated in the elections. They didn't boycott in 1934, and they won a lot of seats. So, in this question, the answer is option A, 1 only. 57. With reference to 1937 elections, which is the provincial election, 1934 election is Central Legislative Assembly election, 37 is provincial election. Which of the following statements is or are correct? Jawaharlal Nehru supported the participation of Congress in the elections. That's wrong. Nehru was against, he was dead against participation in elections. In the Faizpur session of Congress, it was decided that the INC will participate in the elections. That is correct. Tentatively, they decided that, okay, fine, we will just contest in elections and then we will try our luck. They decided in Faizpur session. So, in this question, statement 1 is wrong, 2 is correct. The answer is option B, 2 only. 58. With reference to the left wing in Congress, which of the following statements are correct? The rise of Congress Socialist Party was due to the increased left influence in the INC. That's correct. There were many people, including Jawaharlal Nehru and Subhash Chandra Bose, who started rising as prominent stars in the Congress Party, and thereby the Congress Socialist Party was formed. The leaders of the Congress Socialist Party accepted both the ideas of Gandhi and the idea of Communist Party of India. That statement is wrong. In fact, they rejected both the idea of Gandhi as well as the idea of Communist Party of India, because they told that we stand for rationalism, meaning evidence-based thought. Gandhi is talking, whatever Gandhi is saying, that is not based on rational thought, that is based on emotion. And we don't accept Communist Party, even though they are talking rationally. They say that we don't accept Communist Party because the Communist Party has separative tendencies, meaning they want to break into multiple parts. They want India to break. So, we don't accept with that also. So, second statement is wrong, the first statement is correct. For the 58th question, the answer is option A, 1 only. 59. With reference to CPI, which of the following statements is or are correct? It was declared illegal in 1934. That is actually correct. It was declared illegal by the British. P.C. Joshi became its leader in 1935. That is correct. See, Communist Party of India was trying to reform itself, and therefore P.C. Joshi, who came to power, he was trying his best to reform the government. Meerut conspiracy case was filed against communist leaders. That's also correct. We have already seen this. This Kanpur conspiracy as well as Meerut conspiracy was against communist party members. So, here it is option D, 1, 2 and 3. Question number 60. Consider the following statements with regards to Indigo Revolt of 1859-60. Zamindars enforcing forced and fraudulent contracts led to this revolt. No, that's wrong. It is not Zamindars. It is the British plantation owners. Zamindars were not involved. The British plantation owners forced the Indians to sign fraudulent deals and to make them have very impractical and non-profit making deals. So, the indigo farmers were not ready to sign those deals, but still they were forced in multiple ways. So, that makes the first statement as wrong. It is not Zamindar. The price paid for the indigo plants to the tenants was far below the market price. That's correct. They forced the farmers to sell them indigo at a very, very low price. So, therefore, the farmers found it very difficult to even break even. So, therefore, the second statement is correct. It is correct statement. The answer for this question is option A, because they are asking which of the above statement is not correct. The answer is option A, because only statement 1 is not correct. #61. Consider the following statements with regard to Vernacular Press Act of 1878. It was directed only against Indian language newspapers. That's correct. I think I have told this in the beginning of this discussion. It provided for the confiscation of the printing press if the government believed that a newspaper was publishing seditious material. That statement is also correct. So, if the government decides that a particular newspaper is writing articles which is critical of the government, it will impose the Sedition Act and it will confiscate the press. So, both the statements are correct and the answer is option C, both 1 and 2. 62. Surendranath Banerjee was the first Indian to go to jail in performance of his duty as a journalist. That statement is factually correct. He wrote articles criticizing the government and therefore he was arrested. He founded the Indian Association, which organized an all India political conference even before the formation of Indian National Congress. That statement is also factually correct. So this is a fact-based question. Please learn these facts. It is correct. And both the statements are wrong. Both the statements are correct. So the answer is option C, both 1 and 2. 63. The government arrested Tilak in 1897 on charges of sedition. Correct, because he wrote articles critical of the government, not directly. It was actually an article which pushed the Indians to think that it is right to rebel against the British Raj. That's all. The charge was based on the publication in the Kesari, his daily magazine, of a poem criticizing the Councils Act. That's wrong. It was not criticizing the Councils Act. It was actually a poem which talks about how Shivaji killed a person who was trying to kill him. So he says that in the case of self-defense, it is okay to kill a person who is trying to harm you. It is okay to attack a person who is trying to harm you. Therefore, this poem, the British told that it was implicitly inciting violence against the British officials. That's why they arrested him. Tilak's critics, Tilak is an extremist. He will have critics, and those critics, like the moderates, especially in INC, they welcomed the arrest as his actions interfered with their methods of functioning. That is wrong. The moderates protested against the arrest of Tilak. When it came to Tilak, when it came to this particular moment, all the moderates sided with Tilak and they protested against the British. So, in this question, statement 1 is correct, 2 and 3 is wrong. The answer is option A, 1 only. 64. Which of the following was the reasons for the rise of militant nationalism? So, militant nationalism. Partition of Bengal, 100% a reason. Unemployment, certainly that's a reason. Growth of self-reliance sentiments, exactly. The growth of the people realizing that we can actually try to fix things for ourselves, and that emboldened them. These group of people, they felt emboldened to rise against the British in a very violent manner. So that's another reason. Spread of education, that's also a reason. When education spread, people started learning to think, and with that ability to think, they started analyzing the imperialistic character of the British, and they started questioning the decisions taken by the British government. Therefore, they were able to identify the colonial design which is exploitative in nature. So, all four of them led to the rise of militant nationalism. The answer is option D, all the above. 65. Consider the following statements. The wartime miseries of the First World War were the ignition point for the formation of the Home Rule League. That statement is correct. Because of the wartime miseries, the Home Rule League was active and they pushed their movement further. They told that the people are suffering a lot. It is time for us to have our own rule, us ruling over ourselves, some form of self-government. Second, the Home Rule League had a specific agenda of only achieving self-government, Self-government was one of the agenda, one of the main agendas, but it is also about educating Indians politically. That's also one of their major motivations behind Home Rule League. So the second statement is wrong. The answer is obviously option A, 1 only. 66. With reference to Bardoli Satyagraha, which of the following statements are correct? 1. Young India magazine supported the movement. That is correct. This Young India magazine is where Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, Mahatma Gandhi, wrote a lot of articles supporting Bardoli Satyagraha. 2. It was a no tax movement. That statement is correct. It was in fact a no tax movement. they told that we will not pay the land revenue tax. Bardoli is associated with the constructive work among Kaliparaj people. That's also correct. Kaliparaj people are those people who were helpless, who were bonded, who were the depressed class. So, all three statements are correct with regards to Bardoli Satyagraha. The answer is option D, 1, 2 and 3. We will move on to the next question. Question number 67. With reference to the revolutionaries, which of the following statements is or are correct? Bhagat Singh, Sukhdev and Rajguru were hanged for throwing a bomb in the Central Legislative Assembly. Well, that's not really correct, because they were hanged not just for throwing the bombs but also for committing other crimes. For example, Bhagat Singh had committed the murder of Colonel Sanders, who was the person who was responsible for ordering the Lathi charge against Lala Lajpat Rai. So, Bhagat Singh and these guys, they were hanged for not just throwing the bomb but for other reasons also. The revolutionaries participated in a hunger strike against their unjust imprisonment. That statement is also wrong, because the revolutionaries participated in the hunger strike because of the improper, miserable and pathetic conditions of the jail, and not because they felt that they were unjustly imprisoned. In fact, these guys wanted to get imprisoned, therefore that cannot be the answer. So, both the statements are wrong. The answer is option D, neither 1 nor 2. Moving on to the next question. Question number 68. With reference to the Pune Pact, which of the following statements is or are correct? It endorsed the separate electorate for the depressed classes. That's wrong. It in fact abolished the separate electorate. It provided for the reservation of seats for the depressed classes in the legislatures for adequate representation. That is correct. It abolished separate electorates and it allowed for the reservation of seats. That's what Pune Pact is. So, here statement 1 is wrong, statement 2 is correct. The answer is option B, 2 only. We will move on to 69. Next question. Which of the following statements is or are true about the concept of separate electorate in British India? Separate electorate means some seats are reserved in the legislature exclusively for depressed classes. That statement is correct. Separate electorate for Muslims was introduced after the passage of GOI Act of 1935. That's wrong. It was introduced in 1919 itself. So, second statement is wrong. MacDonald Award was meant to provide separate electorates for Anglo-Indians and scheduled caste only. That's also wrong. They provided separate electorate for Muslims, Sikhs and others also. So, both the statements are wrong. 2 and 3 are wrong. 1 is correct. The answer is option B, 1 only. 70. Which of the following statements is or are true about the 1937 elections and the subsequent government formation? Congress got the majority in all the provinces except Bengal, Punjab and Sindh. That statement is correct. Election was based on universal adult franchise. Not universal adult franchise, but some form of voter relaxation was given. So, second statement is wrong. Congress party resigned from the government due to the allegations of corruption against its ministers. That's also wrong, because Congress resigned from the government when they realized that the Governor General, the Viceroy at this point in time, Lilithgow announced the participation of India in World War II unilaterally without consulting the Congress party. That's why they resigned in protest. So, statement 1 is correct, 2 and 3 are wrong. The answer is option A, 1 only. In 71st question, next, consider the following statements with respect to the Indian Independence Act of 1947. The Act provided for the creation for the two dominions, India and Pakistan. That statement is correct. It provided for the abolition of the post of Governor General and vests the power in the office of the President. That's wrong. Office of the President was not present, it was not established until the promulgation of the Constitution. which did not happen during the time of independence. So, Governor General post continued to exist, and the Constituent Assembly of each dominion was to exercise the power of the legislature of that dominion, and the Council of States was to be automatically dissolved. That is correct. So, 1 and 3 are correct. The answer is option A, 1 and 3. 72. Which of the following were the activities of the Ghadar party? To organize assassination of officials, absolutely they did that. They are a revolutionary terrorist organization based in San Francisco in US. To publish revolutionary and anti-imperialist literature, that's also correct. They had many articles being published in their Ghadar newspaper, where they will publish articles criticizing the British policies in India. To plant bombs on government property, absolutely they did that. So, they did all of this. The answer is option D, 1, 2 and 3. 73. Which of the following statements is or are true about Jallianwala Bagh massacre? Once again, we have a question about Jallianwala Bagh massacre. This incident ultimately led to the launch of non-cooperation movement by Gandhi. That could be very well correct. That is true. Rabindranath Tagore gave up his title of knighthood, meaning Sir Rabindranath Tagore, he gave up on that title because of this revolt, because of the revolting against this particular act by the British. That statement is correct. Uddam Singh took the revenge by assassinating General Dyer. No, that's wrong. He assassinated not General Dyer, but the Lieutenant Governor O. Dwyer, D-W-Y-E-R. He was the Lieutenant Governor who gave the authority to General Dyer to fire at the people. So, he assassinated Dwyer and not General Dyer. Hunter Commission was set up to inquire about the Punjab wrongs, Punjab atrocities. That statement is correct. So, 1, 2 and 4 are correct. 3 alone is wrong. The answer is option B, 1, 2 and 4. 74. Which of the following statement correctly defines the concept of safety valve theory, which we saw in the beginning of the discussion? It says how the early nationalists safeguarded their own political interest vis-a-vis imperial interests of the Britishers. That's wrong. It is about the British protecting themselves from the Indian people using Congress. That's what safety valve is. Let's see if there is any options like that. It says how the Congress was protecting the interests of the peasants. No, wrong. Then we'll just eliminate it right then and there. It says how the Congress was founded to prevent any kind of rebellion against the British government. That is the correct answer. Answer is option C. 75. Which of the following statements is or are true related to Indian National Army, INA? Rash Bihari Bose was one of its founder. That is correct. Rash Bihari Bose was one of its founder. He was an extremist leader. It participated in World War II to fight against the Japanese in the northeast of India. No, they actually joined hands with the Japanese people to invade India through the northeast, through Kohima. 3. After independence, members of INA got the status of freedom fighters by the government of India. Sadly, that is wrong, because the government of India forgot to recognize many of these International Army soldiers as freedom fighters. Therefore, only option 1, statement 1 is correct, 2 and 3 is wrong. The answer is option A, 1 only. 76. Which of the following statements is or are true about August offer given by Linlithgow? It happened in the wake of immediate danger of Nazi occupation over Britain. That's correct. The British were scared that the Nazi Germany is going to invade Britain and settle in Britain and occupy Britain. That's there. It promised that after the war, a representative Indian body would be set up to frame a constitution for India. That's also correct. They in fact understood that they will allow the Indians to frame their own constitution. They observed the right of Indians to frame their own constitution. Due to the failure of it, Quit India movement was launched by the Indian political leaders. That is wrong. Due to its failure, they launched individual satyagraha, not Quit India movement. Cripps mission's failure caused Quit India movement. August offer's failure caused individual satyagraha. So here The statements 1 and 2 are correct, 3 is wrong. The answer is option A, 1 and 2 only. 77. Consider the following statements with regards to second roundtable conference. Second RTC was attended by Gandhiji, correct, in which the British government recognized Congress as the representative of interests of all Indians. That is wrong. Because if they had identified Congress as the people who are the representatives of all Indians, they would have allowed Congress alone to participate. They also invited Muslim League, they invited other regional parties, they invited other princely states. So that's not the case. First statement is wrong. The leaders of the right wing in Britain strongly supported the British government negotiating the terms of equality with Congress. That's also wrong. The British right wing party, meaning the Conservative Party, did not accept that the Congress can be treated on par with the British. So second statement is also wrong. After the second roundtable conference, government decided not to take any reactionary stand without taking Congress into confidence. That statement is also wrong. In fact, they did the opposite. They announced the communal award, which was a reactionary statement, which is about dividing the Indian people based on communal and caste lines. So all three statements are wrong. The answer for this question is option D, none of the above. Next question, question number 78. Which of the following is or are the objectives of the All India Muslim League? Since its inception, its main aim was to get a separate state for Muslims. Actually, that is not an objective of Muslim League. That was not one of the objectives. It was actually to get special treatment for Muslims because Muslims were in a minority and Muslims were in a very deplorable state as per the Muslim League. To promote among Indian Muslims feeling of loyalty towards the British government and to remove any misconception. That is actually correct. To promote a good sense, a good feeling towards the British government, thereby they can get concessions from the British, thereby the British will also be happy with the Muslims as India is now divided in communal lines. That was actually a British design. You cannot really blame the Muslim League entirely for that. To protect the political and other rights of the Indian Muslims and to place their needs and aspirations before the government in temperate language. That is also correct. So 78th question, 1 is wrong, 2 and 3 are correct. The answer is option B, 2 and 3 only. 79. Which of the following statements is or are true about the Quit India movement? It was purely a non-violent movement spread across the urban and rural areas. Well, Quit India movement was not a purely non-violent movement. It was violent in many different places. It was led by Gandhiji and Jawaharlal Nehru from the front. That's also wrong because these guys were arrested even before they were able to formally launch the movement. They were arrested by the British. But still the movement continued without leaders. 3. This was launched in the aftermath of the failure of cabinet mission. No, that's also wrong. It was launched in the aftermath of Cripps mission, not cabinet mission. So here the answer will be, which of the following statements are true is a question. The answer is option D, none of the above. Next question, question number 80. Which of the following events and the respective viceroys governors are associated and matched correctly? We will see. Partition of Bengal being revoked under Lord Hardinge, that's correct. He will revoke partition of Bengal and he will move to Delhi. He will move the capital to Delhi. English education in India under Lord William Bentinck, that's also correct. English education in India, formally it was launched in a large scale under Lord William Bentinck. Third roundtable conference under Lord Wellington, that's also correct. Third roundtable conference happened under the viceroyship of Lord Wellington. Fourth, INA trial and Lord Linlithgow, no, that's wrong. Linlithgow left India. It was Lord Wavell who was conducting, who was the one under which these INA trials happened. So 1, 2 and 3 are correct, 4 is wrong. The answer is option A, 1, 2 and 3. 81. Now we are entering into current affairs. With reference to Pradhan Mantri Rozgar Pratoshan Yojana, consider the following statements. In this scheme, the employer is incentivized for increasing the employee base in the establishment through payment of EPF contribution. That statement is correct. The entire system is online and Aadhaar based with no human interface. That's also correct. These two statements are taken right out of the program website. It is taken right out of the government notice. Both of them are correct. And here the answer is option C, both 1 and 2. 82. UNNATI program is recently seen in the news. Is related to what? It is actually related to space research. It is India commemorating Unispace 50 years of Unispace program, which is the space program where all the it is a UN space program where all the countries in the world will join together to manage how they will conduct themselves in the space. That is this Unispace program. So, to commemorate the 50th year of that, India helped in the creation. This UNNATI, it is about nano satellites, building of nano satellites development. That's how ISRO commemorated this Unispace program. They say that we will have this UNNATI program where we will develop this nano satellites to commemorate this Unispace. So, the answer is option D. 83. With reference to Kyasanur forest disease, consider the following statements. It is a tick-borne viral hemorrhagic fever endemic to South Asia. The first statement is correct. It is correct. It is caused by a virus belonging to the family Flaviridae, which is also causing yellow fever and dengue fever. That's also correct. Yellow fever and dengue fever is spread by Aedes aegypti mosquito, but this Kyasanur forest disease is spread by ticks. 3. ELISA kits are used for early detection of KFD. That's also correct. ELISA means enzyme linked immunosorbent assay. So, this ELISA kits can be used to diagnose this disease. All three statements are correct. The answer is option D, 1, 2 and 3. 84. Consider the following statements regarding Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. It is a multilateral development bank that aims to support the building of infrastructure in the Asia Pacific region. That is correct, absolutely correct. China is the bank's biggest beneficiary with a quarter of the AIIB's approved projects geared towards its development. That's actually wrong. In fact, it is India which is the biggest beneficiary. India is the country which has received the largest amount of loans from AIIB. So, second statement is wrong. Third, India is the only country apart from China to enjoy a permanent seat on the bank's board of directors. That's actually correct. That's actually completely correct. So, it's a factual question. It is an organization based question. So, 1 and 3 are correct. 2 is wrong. The answer is option B, 1 and 3 only. 85. The government has recently proposed international UDAN to connect. UDAN is the regional connectivity program through flights. And it has announced this international UDAN to connect India's smaller cities directly to some key foreign destinations in the neighborhood. In this context, consider the following statements. Unlike its domestic UDAN, where both the center and the state government share the subsidy, it is only the central government that will provide the financial support for flights under international UDAN. That's wrong. In fact, it is the opposite. Only the states, not the central government, only the state government will provide the financial support for the flights under international UDAN. The scheme seeks to make use of open sky policy that India has with other Asian countries that allows direct and unlimited flights. That statement is correct. So, for 85, statement 1 is wrong, 2 is correct. The answer is option B, 2 only. 86. Consider the following statements regarding Asian waterbird census. It is a part of the global program called International Waterbird Census that focuses on monitoring the status of waterbirds and wetlands. That's correct. It's a factual statement. In India, the AWC is annually coordinated by the Bombay Natural History Society and Wetland International. That's also correct. 1 and 2, both of them are correct. The answer is, they are asking what is incorrect. So, the answer should be option D, neither 1 nor 2. 87. The recent Pulwama attack left the nation in a deep state of shock. In response to it, India immediately withdrew the most favored nation MFN status of Pakistan that India had granted. Consider the following statement regarding MFN status. One nation will allow free movement of labor and capital with other. Is that what MFN is? And the second statement is, tariffs are reduced on goods imported from MFN accorded statements. Now, both the statements are wrong. The answer is option D, neither 1 nor 2. And I can explain why that is the case. See, though they say most favored nation, it is not any preferential treatment. It does not mean preferential treatment. The WTO is the one which actually accords such, which actually brought in this concept of MFN. It says that all countries will have to eventually reduce the tariffs which is placed against other countries' products from entering into their country. And they say that by awarding most favored nation status to one country, here for example, let's say the case of Pakistan. India has awarded MFN status to Pakistan, and therefore what it means is that it cannot put Pakistan in a disadvantaged way as the way how India will trade with other countries. India has to treat Pakistan in the very same way how it will treat any other country with regards to trade. So, it cannot put Pakistan in any disadvantaged place. By removing the MFN status, it means that India can put Pakistan in a disadvantaged position. That's what it means. Both the statements are wrong. The answer is option D, neither 1 nor 2. 88. Consider the following pairs which are currently matched. Diffo, Bougainville and Keiran Gandial. Now all of them are actually bridges. Diffo is in Assam. No, it's not in Assam. It is in Arunachal Pradesh. Bougainville is actually in Assam. It is not in Manipur. So 1 and 2 are wrongly matched. Keiran Gandial is actually in Jammu and Kashmir. 3 is correctly matched. The answer is option C, 3 only. 89. Consider the following statements regarding Mudra scheme. Mudra loans are not available for activities allied to agriculture. That's wrong. Mudra loans are available even for activities allied with agriculture like poultry farming, beekeeping, cattle rearing. So there are many people who can have Mudra loan. It aims to provide funding to the non-corporate small business sector. That's correct. That statement is correct. Only regional rural banks can refinance under Mudra scheme. That's wrong. Even commercial banks and even scheduled commercial banks can withdraw. That's also there. So 1 and 3 are wrong. 2 is correct. The answer is option C, 2 only. 90. Consider the following statements regarding Geosynchronous Satellite Launch Vehicle, GSLV. GSLV is designed mainly to deliver Earth observation or remote sensing satellites. That's wrong. They usually use PSLV because these remote sensing satellites have to be placed in low Earth orbit. So GSLV is a high performance, high efficiency rocket. So they don't try to use GSLV to launch anything in low Earth orbit. So first statement is wrong. GSLV can reach an approximate height of 4,000 kilometers. That's also wrong. It can go up to 36,000 kilometers. So that statement is also wrong. Because of their geosynchronous nature, the satellites appear to remain permanently fixed in the same point in the sky. That's actually correct. And it is because of this reason that they actually launch communication satellites through GSLV, geosynchronous launch vehicles. 3 is correct, 1 and 2 are wrong. The answer is option C, 3 only. 91. Now we are entering into polity. The 69th Amendment of the Constitution deals with what? It's a straightforward factual question. It is very simple to understand. It is actually the special provision with respect to Delhi. It is there in the news recently because of the tussle between the Lieutenant Governor and the Chief Minister of the Delhi. Now they are trying to understand who is having more power, or how is the power shared between the Delhi legislature as well as the Lieutenant Governor. So the answer is option C. 92. Consider the statements with respect to Delhi. The Legislative Assembly of Delhi has the power to make laws on any matter enumerated in the state list or the concurrent list. That is wrong. They cannot make laws under public order, police and land. They cannot do that. Central government will do that. The Parliament can make laws with respect to 3 entries in the state list, meaning the public order, police and land, with prior permission to the president. That's also wrong because they don't need prior permission. They can just enact laws by themselves. So both the statements are wrong. The answer is option D, neither 1 nor 2. Moving on to the next question. Question number 93. Consider the following statements. The Chief Minister of a Union Territory is appointed by the President. That is correct. The Minister of a Union Territory holds office during the pleasure of the Administrator. That is wrong. They hold office during the pleasure of the President, not the Administrator. So 1 is correct, 2 is wrong. They are asking which is incorrect. So the answer is option B, 2 only. 94. Gram Sabha means a body consisting of persons registered in the electoral rolls of a village, a level between the village and the district level, territorial areas of a panchayat, all the residents of a village. This is not the answer, this is not the answer, this is not the answer. Answer is option A. Every eligible adult eligible for voting in a village together will comprise all the members of the Gram Sabha, and together they are called as the Gram Sabha. So option A is correct, where it is a body consisting of persons registered in the electoral rolls of a village. That's all. 95. Consider the following statements. All the seats in a panchayat shall be filled by persons chosen by direct election from territorial constituencies. That statement is correct. The chairperson of a panchayat at a village, intermediate and district levels is directly elected by the people on the basis of universal adult franchise. That is wrong, because the chairperson is usually elected from among those who are elected. So that's why that statement is wrong, and therefore the question is asking which is incorrect. The answer should be option B, 2 only. 96. Consider the following statements. A panchayat constituted upon the dissolution of a panchayat before the expiration of its duration shall continue only for the remainder of the period for which the dissolved panchayat would have continued. Meaning, if there is a panchayat which has been functioning for say 3 years, and if the tenure is 5 years, and at the end of 3 years it is being dissolved. When it is dissolved, the next panchayat will be formed, but they will serve only to complete that original 5 years. They will not have a fresh tenure after that. So therefore, they are not going to serve the full 5 years. The first statement is correct. If the remainder of the period for which the dissolved panchayat would have continued is less than 6 months, it shall not be necessary to hold any election for constituting the panchayat for such period. Meaning, if a panchayat has served its tenure for up to 4 years and more than 6 months, then if there is less than 6 months remaining in that tenure to complete, then there is no need to have a new panchayats. There is no need to elect a new panchayat to serve the remaining period of that 5-year time. So obviously the second statement is also correct. Now they are asking which is incorrect. The answer should be option D, neither 1 nor 2. 97. The state legislatures may authorize the panchayats to levy, collect and appropriate taxes. That's correct. The state legislature may after every 5 years constitute a finance commission to review the financial position of the panchayats. That is not necessarily correct. The state may grant how much ever money it needs to allocate for the panchayats through the consolidated fund of the state. So this concept of involving of the finance commission is not necessarily correct. So statement 1 is correct, 2 is wrong. The answer is option A, 1 only. 98. Which of the following statements is incorrect? State Election Commission conducts all elections to the panchayats. That's actually correct. State Election Commissioner is appointed by the governor. That is correct. State Election Commissioner can be removed by the governor. That's wrong. So they are asking which is incorrect. The answer is option C, because a state election commissioner, though he or she is appointed by the governor, they can be removed only in the manner how a high court judge can be removed, which is by the president, not by the governor. So option C is the answer for question number 98. 99. A tribes advisory council can be set up in only those states that have scheduled areas. That is wrong. They can be set up in those states which do not have scheduled areas but have scheduled tribes. So even those states can form tribes advisory council. It shall be the duty of the tribes advisory council to advise on such matters pertaining to the welfare and advancement of the scheduled tribes in the state. That is correct. So they are asking which is incorrect. The answer is 1. Option A, 1 only. 100. The last question. The provisions in the 5th schedule and the 6th schedule of the Constitution are made to protect what? That is the question. Option A, protect the interests of scheduled tribes, determine the boundaries between states, determine the powers, authorities and responsibilities of panchayats, protect the interests of all border states. Answer is option A. It is a very straightforward factual question. It is to protect the interests of scheduled tribes. That's why it is there. So we have looked at 100 questions and we have discussed all 100 of them. I hope you have done your exam well. If not, as I always say, please try to learn from the mistakes that you have committed in this particular test and ensure that you don't commit in the next test. So I hope you do well, prepare well for the next test, and good luck. Thank you.